So about myself, a little bit introduction. So I am Mazher Khan. I completed my graduation BTech and MTech dual degree course from IIT BHU. Overall, I have 6 year experience in data science and analytics. I started my journey from Extria, worked there in 3 years in a consulting firm. Then I switched to OLX, which is a product-based company, and then I'm currently recently working in Target as a senior data analyst. And over my time, I have made around 2 switches. So first switches I make from service to product in something March 21. So again, I had like appeared 17 job offers and around appeared around 90 companies and all. Similarly, for last year, again I made a switch again, which I appeared for around 50 plus companies, and I had 7 job offers. So that's how I end up like end-to-end market knowledge about the data analytics, like what your journey should be look like, what topics you should be covering, etc. And about the content creation journey, I started recently from the month of April, and since then actually I have helped around 40,000 plus candidates indirectly, and indirectly when I say is by like sharing the resources and all, and directly 1000 around, which include one-to-one session and long-term mentorship, etc. Okay, so in the sessions, like you have connected with me, you guys all can hear, right? Hello.
Yeah, Mazhar, we can hear you.
Yes.
Cool. So in this session, so we will be around having 10 to 12 sessions. So each sessions will be around 90 minutes approx. Okay, so the goal for will be, we have to define the long term goal. So the goal that we have right now is covering the SQL theory from basics to advanced, which will take around 3 sessions to cover. Then we will be jumping to the LeetCode questions with answers, which will take 4 sessions. Okay, and then will be covering common job interview questions, which will be 1 session, and then we will be doing end-to-end project called funnel dashboard, so which is being leveraged across all the companies, especially e-commerce, like how your funnel dashboard look like. For example, suppose there's a person coming on the website, 100% people are coming on your website, so how the conversion look like between like how many people view the product, how many add to cart, how many actually purchase the product, etc. Similarly, from time to time, I'll be helping you out how to rise and optimize SQL query. Okay, and we will be conducting the TAO session after every class. So this is the long-term goal that you are going to see from here. So today is the 1st of September. So by the end of October, so we will be covering theory, LeetCode questions. So at least you will have a good hands-on command as well. Okay, so this is the goal that I'm setting for all of you. Now what I'm expecting from all of you before I jump to the session and all everything, first, whatever I teach you guys, you have to make handwritten notes, because regardless how much you study, if you don't have notes, and especially handwritten notes, then you will forget everything. Because let's suppose today I teach you something, then at some point if you don't make notes, things will be like that. Okay, I know this, I know that, but if I ask you end to end, you will be struggling. So that's one thing, that make sure that you make the handwritten notes. And also you have to revise, because one time some things will be clear, then again you look again and again. That's how you do the revision, and again that's how things will be embedded in your mind as well. Because obviously if you revise the one time, 2 times, obviously thing will not be clear to you, and obviously again same thing will happen, you know some pieces of it, but application you will not be knowing it. So that's how things, first make notes and also make the revision. Now the third and important, very critical point, whatever the notes you make, it's only one time and for all your career. You are learning SQL for the first time, and it will be end for a career, because you're learning SQL from me. Maybe you upskill in your current role, maybe you job switch, or you will be looking for a new role and all. So it shouldn't be like that. Okay, let's suppose I am looking for a job right now, and then after 2 years I have to start from notes again. No, you make no notes only one for all your career. Okay, so that's why I'm emphasizing, make sure your notes are very crystal and clear. You have your notes book, classmate notebook, and you are making it properly. Okay, so is the goal and the expectation that I'm setting up for you, is it clear or not? Any questions over there, please feel free to call out.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Will
Yeah.
we get the recordings of this session?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah, and also in case you miss the session, so obviously recording will also be there. Okay, but at least since it is the very first day, so at least you should be having very clear expectation where you are going to, because if you don't have the objective, then it doesn't make sense. Okay, so the objective is to cover theory end to end. Okay, if even from a minor to basics you understand things. Similarly for the lead code questions I'll be, and all things will be through the live sessions. Why? Because regardless how much you watch the video, until unless you understand what concept you are applying, you will not get it. Okay, similarly for interview question, similarly for end-to-end project as well. Okay, any questions, any caller, feel free to reach out. Okay, and also this is about the SQL. If you have any other challenges in your career and all apart from this, so feel free to call out or reach out on WhatsApp as well, apart from SQL as well. Okay, so this is sorted. Okay, now next thing is
Well, Mazher, I'm trying to join from my laptop. Please let me in here.
okay, yeah, can you see yourself? Join. Yeah.
Just a moment. Yeah. Now joined. Yes.
Cool. So Kaushik, I just explained what are the long-term goals that we are gonna cover: theory, LeetCode questions, interview questions. Because again, I'll be teaching SQL in terms of two aspects. First, cracking the job interviews. Second, what you do or what you will be doing if you crack the role in your current company. Because there are the other thing as well. Because SQL is a very broad subject, but I'll be specifically covering all the topics related to that. Okay, if you have to crack the interview, so you will be done with that. If you have to upskill yourself, what concept you have to implement, how to write an optimized query, that will be covered. Okay, so these are the two aspects that I'll be covering with respect to the SQL, and these are the long-term goal that I'm going to cover. Okay, and these are the important points that I had to highlight. Again, don't take it lightly, make notes. Again, I'm repeating, this is very super critical for everyone. If you don't make handwritten notes, whatever you learn, you will forget it, because that's how the process is. If I am teaching you 100%, then obviously you will get something around 70-80%. By the time you leave the session, you will end up for 30-40%, and after 1 week we connect, maybe you remember just 10%. So that's the thing, when you have your written notes and then you can revise things. Okay, so that's the main point. Now we can actually start the session covering each topic. So first is the SQL language. So in the SQL stands for structured query language. And what is structured query language is basically, before that I have to explain you what is RDBMS or DBMS. So DBMS is nothing but database management system. Think of an Almira. Suppose you have an Almira, so you have like different set of pieces where you can pick your items like t-shirts, pants, maybe accessories, etc. Right? Similarly, database management system refers to the where you are storing the data, where you are storing the information. Now the information can be of anything. It can be textual data, it can be image data, right? So that is called DBMS, database management system, where you are actually storing the information. Okay, now how to retrieve that information, that is where the SQL comes picture in. That SQL is a language where writing the SQL you can retrieve the information from that database management system. Okay, and what is the difference between RDBMS, relational database management system, and conventional any database management system is that there is a relation exists between the data that you have in the database management system of a RDBMS, which means suppose I have a DBMS, one is contains the data of the image. Okay, second DBMS contains the textual data. Suppose I have the bank details data. Okay, so obviously there cannot be a correlation between the image, because each image will be stored as a data points in terms of pixels, so there will be no relation over there. But in the RDBMS data, suppose I have the transaction table, I can relate with the customer table, I can relate what was the journey of it. So that's what called the RDBMS data model. So at the basic level you should be understanding what is the database. That is number one thing. Number two thing, what is RDBMS, why we call it RDBMS. And as a data analyst, as a business analyst, as a data scientist or a data engineer, you will be only dealing with the RDBMS only, because there are other role as well of a learning SQL, which is like SQL developer and all. So over there might be leveraging as a other database system, but for you specifically as a data scientist role or data analytics role, you will be leveraging only RDBMS. Okay, and RDBMS again, it stands for Relational Database Management System. Database management system is more like a where you are putting the information, and SQL is being leveraged to retrieve that information from that database. Okay, so suppose I have this database management system. Okay, and this is the RDBMS. Okay, so in the database management system, suppose there is one picture, is a picture 1 of September data, picture data of, or let's say August data, right? Similarly, let's suppose I have the transaction data, sun data, let's suppose September. Similarly, I have the transaction data of August. So these pictures will not be related to each other because this information is being stored in terms of pixels, something x by y in terms of coordinate. Okay, but this transaction detail, it what column will have transaction table? If I had to tell you transaction table, it will have like this column. It will have your customer ID, it will have the transaction date, it will have, let's suppose, your the amount of money, and you can say debit, credit type, etc. Okay, so be it August table, be it September table, you can join these two tables based on the customer ID. Okay, so that's why you say it's a database, relational database management system, but over here you cannot join. That's why you say is a database management system. Okay, so RDBMS is a kind of special category of a DBMS, that's called RDBMS. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now in the relational database management system, what can we do? So we have following set of operation that we can create, modify the layout of table. So for example, this database management system, yeah, so this is all nothing but table 1, this is nothing but all table 2. Okay, this is also table 1, this is all also table 2. Okay, so before, after maybe 2-3 sessions, I'll be asking you to create a install MySQL and all, or Postgre and all. Then over there you will see if you have very basic understanding or zero understanding. So actually over you will see you have one database and under which you will see a lot of tables. So these are the tables. Okay, now in database what you can do is create or modify the layout of the table. What does that mean? Suppose I have this transaction table, I can create a new table. Create means, suppose I have to create a table by joining this two table, which will give you the data of August and September, because there is no such table exists that will give you the combined data of August and September. So you can create the table inside of this database management system as a combination of, let's suppose, transaction table of August and September. And this is a very common use case. For example, if you are dealing with any e-commerce company, so the data is so huge, they don't store the data into one table, they have the monthly tables over there. For example, talking about the Flipkart, Amazon or Myntra, maybe something. So the any action you made on your platform, the event is triggered. Okay, and accordingly the things are checked. Okay, what is the action item, what is the landing page open, if the user make a purchase or not. So all the information is stored only in month table. Okay, so that's how, because otherwise if they keep storing only in one table, so the data gets very huge. So again the retrieval of information, it gets very tricky. So that's why they have this information, okay, in monthly table. Now I'm creating this table in terms of August and September. Okay, so for that you can see I have created the table. So that is number one thing that you can do in a RDBMS, which is nothing but creation of a table. Okay, second is I can also modify the existing table. What does that mean? It means, suppose I have table 1, okay, Modify existing table means I can change or I can drop some column. Suppose this table has this column, right? So customer transaction amount, right? I can remove, let's suppose, some other column which was not very necessary. Suppose something field called flag. Okay, this is the field column that exists. I can remove the flag column from the existing data because it does not exist, because it is not needed anymore, right? So modification means it can be dropping a column, it can be changing data type, etc. So we will be covering in like these things in detail further, but just understand if you are changing something into existing table. Okay, changing something into existing table, it can be like column drop, change of data type, etc. Okay, third is inserting data into the table. This is the third action that we can do. Suppose I have another table, table 3. Okay, table 3, which was the combination of August and September. Okay, now what happened, let's suppose October pictures came in. Now what I will do, I will have to again insert the data of October data into it. Okay, so let's suppose I have table October, so I can insert the data of existing data set, which is the combination of the August and September data, into it. So that's how you can insert the data. Okay, feeding October data into August and September table. Okay, so this is what the inserting data means. And even sometimes if you're working in your current company, so the data that you refresh is not always the true for at least current days. So even let's suppose I have the data, let's suppose for last 3 years, something, let's suppose 2022 onwards, right? So if I am writing the query, so what I do, we have a certain time limit that, okay, delete this 7 days of data or maybe last 30 days of data. Why is that? Because sometimes might happen the data was not refreshed completely for last 7 days. Okay, so suppose for last 7 days there were only 50 rows which was updated when you refresh the last time, but when you do it today, then again some data was refreshed, but it will not be reflecting in your system. So that's why it's a best practice, you delete 7 days, 2 weeks, depending on your company and data structure. You delete X number of days from your data and then insert into it based on the current date. Okay, that's the third thing, which is insert data. Fourth is retrieve and manipulate data from one or more tables.
So, can you explain this concept again? I did not get it. Delete and insert it again. What does that mean?
Okay.
Because if we are deleting, how can we,
Okay.
and from where can we insert the similar data?
Cool. Suppose I have this table, same this data, let's suppose. Suppose I have this customer ID 111. Okay, something transaction amount, you can say something like this. Okay. Okay. Suppose you have for the last 2 months data, something around 25th August, okay, 26th of August, 27th of August, 28th of August, 29th of August, 30th of August, and 31st of August. Okay, this is clear. So suppose I'll remove this for now. Suppose obviously today is 1st September, so you can see 31st of August data will not be there, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and also in certain system what happens, like for example if you talk about the healthcare, so the data capture of the recent 7 days, because there will be obviously previous days as well, like this is the August data, similarly you will have June data, July data, but talking about the, let's suppose it's 1st September, talking about the recent days or weeks, right? For example, which is 1st or 25th of August. Okay, so this is for the customer ID 1. Similarly you can say for customer ID 2. Okay, so let's suppose this data was not captured when you are looking at today. Okay, when you are looking at with respect to the 1st September this data might have captured. Okay, so you see for the 1st of August, 27 and 28 August data was not captured, or maybe it was captured but it is not reflecting into the system. Why happens that? It's another story, because sometimes the data may be at the operational level, it did not reach to the service center and all. That's where they do not update it, whatever the backend of the stories. For example, talking about the US healthcare data, right? Or sometimes it might happen you talking especially about the healthcare data. Let's suppose so in US they are like certain called IQVIA. So they have a certain entity which go to the doctor, which go to the patient, which go to the hospital. They will take the data from you there and create a master table, and they will feed the data into their client like AstraZeneca, Pfizer and all. But more sometimes it might happen the patient was not available or some other reason, right? So in that, let's suppose in today's data, so the data was not captured. But again, let's suppose after 2 days or 3 days, the patient information was delivered to the IQVIA, and now the data is available. Okay, so that is a buffer time of actually capturing the data as well, because in the, let's suppose if today is 1st September, so for last 7 data, and also it varies from industry to industry. Okay, that in the recent weeks data, how much data is available. Okay, so for example, let's suppose you are refreshing the data for September today, but let's suppose if I refresh the same data for around 4th of August, 10th of September, let's suppose. Okay, so now what I see 28, 29 data. Okay, 27, 28, 100. Okay, now so you see earlier 25, 26, 27, 28 was made, 27, 27. So the point I'm trying to make, guys, when you refresh the data on the 1st of September, these data were not existing into a system. Okay, so if you running on the 10th of September again, if you don't delete the data of last 2 weeks and insert it again, these 2 records will not come into picture. Okay, and why it is happening at the back end? Because of a data capture issue. So that is a best practice you to do. At least you delete X number of days from your table and then insert into the data. Okay, now it makes sense?
Yes. So that means that if we delete, it is present somewhere else, and when we refresh, it directly comes.
Yeah, so basically what we're doing, we are not deleting any kind of data. We are just saying whatever the data already exists, because otherwise if we don't delete, let's suppose if I don't delete for the last 2 weeks data, 1 week, there will be duplicacy, and I don't know what data exists, what data does not exist, right?
Okay.
So that is the reason.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Got it. Thank you.
So this is more around inserting data into table. Okay. We will be covering more in detail about the syntax, how we do it and all, but this is a more of a like a basic understanding what you do as a data analyst, business analyst on a day-to-day basis. Okay, these are the day-to-day basis of your work. Okay. Third is the retrieve and manipulate data from one or more tables. Retrieve means getting the information and manipulate it. Okay, so suppose like the way I told you, this is the transaction table that I had, right? So I retrieve this information from which table? Table August, September, right? And manipulate it. So manipulation, it can be done like, for example, I applied for some customers, I look at for only debit and credit filters, right? So that's called transaction table. So retrieve is nothing but getting information or getting data from a table. Let's suppose transaction table. And manipulation says, let's suppose I need the data only for debit. Okay, I need the data only for debit. Okay, so that is called manipulation. So over here, what you will do, you just apply the filter of debit and then sum it up. That will explain you how much is the total debit amount, how much is the total credit amount. So that's what called manipulation. There are I will be coming very in depth, but just understand for now what is the structure look like, what is the action look like. How we are going to do about it, I'll explain you in a very detailed way, but at least fundamentally you should understand if this is a table, what is happening. Okay. Fifth is update and delete the table. So this is we rarely use. Update we don't use, but delete we use. Okay. So update is more like updating a column or rows, whereas delete refers to deleting rows from 7 days, from last 7 days or to 14 days, etc. Okay. So this is how the very fundamental things gonna look like. First is database management system. I explained you what a type of data table exists, picture, September and all, since there is no relation. But in the RDBMS, I explained you what different type of data that exists. Suppose I have the August data, September data, and you're combining it, and you have the, let's suppose I have this table. Now in the RDMS table, there can be lots of thousands of tables that can exist, but at the end of the day, what action we do. So we are the end of the day, we have this 5 action that we do. First is the creation of the table, which means creating a new data from the scratch. For example, in this case, I have created a new table August and September by combining these two tables, which is nothing but August and September. Second is the modification of the existing table, which means making changes in the current table. It can be column drop, it can be change of data type. Third is inserting data into table, which means you are feeding a new data, let's suppose October data, into August and September table. Fourth is retrieve and manipulate data from one or more table. Retrieve means getting the data from a table transaction. Manipulation is, let's suppose I need the data only for this and that, and then summing it up. That is called manipulation. Fifth is update and delete. Update means you are updating the value in the current system, row or column, and delete means you are deleting certain rows or columns from your table. Okay. Now I'll explain you what are the most common use cases for you have on a day-to-day basis. Retrieve and manipulation is the most important one. Okay, you will be doing on your daily basis in your work as a DA and the BA. Inserting data, somewhat you do. So this is also the important one. Okay. Modification, this is also the important one. Creation of table, it's very rarely used. Okay. I won't say it's not used, but rarely used because creation of table is done by data engineers. Maybe you can create some tables on your own, but the base table is created by the data engineers. Why? Because see, for example, this table you will not be creating. This table will be created by data engineers. So suppose any action that you made on your app, so the data is getting triggered, but the now role of the data engineer or the responsibility of the data engineer is to bring this data into respective table. That is the role of a data engineer. Now your role of a data analyst and the business analyst to use this table to get the key insights or business or solve business problem. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The creation of table is very rarely used. Maybe let's suppose you have combining this August and September data. Suppose now you want to store the data into a new table. Then you can say, okay, I have to create a table. Then maybe you can, let's suppose you have to use this syntax. Fourth is update and delete. So update, to be frank, I never used in my life, but delete you do. Okay, delete is the common use. Okay, so far so clear. Any question, let me know. Yeah, any questions so far, guys?
Sir, is there any difference between
No.
DBMS and RDBMS?
Sorry Satya, I can't hear you.
Is there any difference between DBMS and RDBMS?
DBMS and
Relational Database Management.
yeah, I explained you Satya, right? So there will be a relation will exist between the RDBMS and DBMS. It will not. There are other fundamental differences as well, but the basic level you should be knowing only this one. I can explain you. So there's a very common job interview question. They will be asked, okay, explain the difference between DBMS and the RDBMS. So I'll covering that over there as well. Because see, again, this database it's itself a very broader thing. So I don't want to confuse you over there. Okay, because database management system is around there like very set of number of DBMS and all. But neither you will be asked in the interview. So I'll be explaining you those topics which will be asked only in the interview specifically. But on a day-to-day basis, you just need to understand this fundamental difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mazher, what is pixels?
Pixels. For example, you have the image data, right? So if you see, the image data is stored in a form of pixels, right? 2 by 2,
Right.
4 by 2.
Okay. You mean the pixels are the image sizes?
Yeah. For example, if you have to any image, like for example, like the AI chat GPT, right? So you are storing the information in terms of pixels, right? So each color combination, etc. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah. So this is about the database and how are the fundamental actions you are gonna do. Okay. Now the third thing, what we do in a table. Okay. So again, similar things that I have told you in the starting. So the structured query language, programming language designed to manage data in a relational database. This line is important. Designed to manage data in a relational database. Now manage, it can be creation of the data, making some alteration, manipulation, it can be anything. So what does that exactly means in terms of manage data? Okay. Now when you do, there are like set of examples. For example, they're like DDL, DML and DCL. DCL you generally don't do. Why? Because if you are a SQL developer, so these things will be there. Or maybe if you are a data engineer, then these things you might be there. But for you, it will be only DDL and DML. Because a data control language is to grant the access of a certain user or revoking the access. So since you are not creating the table of the base table, obviously, so definitely you are not granting the access as well, right? And why is that? Because there is sometimes confidential data might be there. Sometimes the data should not be exposed, like confidential, like explained you. So, and also within the team, suppose if I am from the analytics team, because at the end of the day I'll have to work in the data, so I'll be exposed to the data. But suppose in the same company, someone from the other team, let's suppose operational and all, so they will not be they might have access to the tool and technology, but they might not be having access to this table. So that's why the granting access pictures comes in. But that access it will not be given by you. It will be mainly given by the data engineers. Your role at the end of the day is to work around this DDL, DML and all. And again, data control is not a very big thing. It's just a syntax we write simply like this: grant select on table to this particular user. That's it. So it will give you an access. Similarly, if you want to revoke, then you can revoke as well. Okay. So we'll be covering that. But at the bottom level, you should understand it's similar thing what I have explained in slide number 1. What are the action item we're gonna do about it? So whatever the 5 action item that we cover here, it's not combined over here. So DDL, DML. So DDL is all about creating a table, replacing the data, making the alteration, which means deleting the column or rows and all, dropping objects like deleting, etc. Like similarly, DDL stands for data definition language. Second is DML. DML refers to data modification language, which means modification means you are changing the data. It refers to inserting the data. It refers to updating the existing data, deleting the rows in table. Okay, so that is the action item you should be knowing it. So SQL, if I explain you in the broader way, so it covers 3 actions: DDL, DML and DCL. Definition, which means you are creating or new something like data. ML means you are manipulating the data or modification the data. And DCL refers to control language, which means you are providing the access to certain user and revoking the access of certain users of your table. Okay, and also access can be edit, view or read. It can be anything. Okay. Yeah. So if you see over here, yeah. So data retrieval, like I explained you. So data retrieval, they like set of steps. Data retrieval, how to get the information. Now we are talking in terms of actual syntax, right? So over here I explain you, okay, you can do this, you can do that, but how? what is the actual syntax of writing that. Okay, so a statement in this SQL, if you have to retrieve the information, so you can simply write select, and again something will be there, we will covering that, but just remember the statement, what syntax we use. If we have to retrieve the data retrieval, so select we use. Second, if we have to manipulate the data, for insert we have the insert statement, for update we have the update statement, for delete we have the delete statement. Okay, similarly for data definition we can do all these things. Create means create the table, which we have creation. Alter means changing the data of the row, which refers to the alter. Then we have drop. Drop is mean dropping the table. Okay, so which is called drop table. Rename, it can be rename of the renaming of a column of a table, and also it can be renaming of a table name, that's called rename. Then we have truncate. Truncate means again is similar to dropping the data. I'll explain you further what is the difference between delete, drop and truncate, but just now for remember what is truncate is just like deleting the data, okay, or truncating the data. Then fourth we have the DCL, grant and revoke. So two action item we have only. If you have to provide the access over certain user, that's called grant, and second we have revoke, in which you are revoking the access. And some more actions we have, commit and rollback we also do, but generally you will be dealing with only this one. Is it clear? So you can delete, yeah. Yeah, so these are the main syntax you are gonna cover. Okay, now talking about the schema. So first I explain you what are the DBMS at the broader structure look like. Second, under the DBMS, what different type of data exist in form of table. Third, I have the data tables. What are the action that I'm gonna do, that I explain you. How we are gonna do, I'll explain you in further, but right now you should be having broad level understanding what the DBMS is, what type of data exists, and what are the action that I can perform or will be performing as a on my daily job as a DA or a PA. That I'll explain you. Okay, how we are gonna do about it, we will cover in the upcoming things. Okay. Now there is another thing. If you can understand this slide, is fine. If not, is not very critical one. So this referred to database schema. A schema is nothing but is a like collection of logical structure. It can be anything. It can be a table, view, index X, synonym, sequence. Because I know these most of the things you will not be able to get it for now. So tables, that I explain you. Views, I'll just explain for one more thing. Views is like nothing but you run that query and that structure the data is generated which you can view. So that's called a view. Okay. So nothing but just for a reference, just understand, okay, what is a schema? Just a collection of logical structure, nothing but. It can be of different forms. It can be form of table, it can be a form of view, it can be form of indexes. What are all this? We are going to cover in a detail, but just understand what is schema in one line. Okay. Now, so like I told you, we will be covering now each action item one by one. Okay. So first I say creating the table. Okay. So if you have to create the table, so we have to write the simple syntax like this. Create employees. So, yeah. So create a table. It's very easy. First you have to assign the syntax. Just don't see real. Just focus on the syntax. Okay. Focus on the syntax only. First I have to create a table, which means the simple syntax starting is the statement create and table. Next thing starts, what is the table name I'm gonna give you. Okay. So create table, this will start. Now next thing I have to assign, okay, I have to create this table. What are the column that I'm gonna give inside the table. So suppose over here I create this table, let's suppose this one. Okay, so now I can write the syntax like this: create table. So syntax will be create table. Let's suppose I give the transaction table name as trans. Now open the bracket and close the bracket. Now inside of it there will be a lot of column which I'm gonna give. So first is customer ID, second is date, third is amount, fourth is debit or credit, fourth is flag. Now suppose you are writing the SQL syntax, you don't know, you have to explain, okay, customer ID column is different than date, amount is different than date, so you have to add some partition that will help you understand SQL. Okay, this column is ended here, so that's why we add the comma. Okay, so the before comma is one column, so comma will help the SQL to understand, okay, this is completed over here. So that's how for each column creating the table we will add the comma. Now if you don't know the data type, so I'll explain. So now the next thing is I have to explain what is the data type. Data type nothing refers to, it's a qualitative data and the quantitative data, which means it can be a numeric number, it can be a string, it can be a date, it can be a boolean expression, which means true and false. So you have to assign the numbers before, otherwise SQL will understand it as a string by default. Let's suppose I want the customer ID to be a numeric number. If you don't assign it as a numeric, then it will treat as a string, which is a text data. So let's suppose now as a next thing I have to assign some data type. Suppose I can give you the int. Similarly I can give as a date. Amount, let's suppose I have to gain as an int. Debit credit flag, then I can give you as a varchar. So varchar represent the syntax of actually writing is, okay, categorize them as a text, and then accordingly I can add some number, let's suppose 40. Okay, and then flag you can see, let's suppose boolean. Okay, so in the creating the table you have to remember following thing. First is the create statement. Number 2 is what is the table name. Number 3 is the field column names that you are gonna assign. Fourth is add commas. Fifth is the data types, which is nothing but int stand for integer or the numeric number. Similarly we have float, which is the decimal number, and the date and the varchar, etc. Okay, so this is all about the creating a table, which is the step 1.
Will the data type come after the column name?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, after the comma?
No, before the comma.
Before the comma. Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise it will not understand. So it's more like the structure will be like this. Column name, data type, and then comma. Okay. So this is how.
And are the column names case sensitive? Column name and table names?
No, SQL is not case sensitive.
Okay.
Okay, so you write uppercase, small case. So even if I can I write this? So uppercase, case sensitive is means, like for example, even if I write like this, it will treat you the same way like what it is doing over here, cust ID. Okay, so SQL is not case sensitive, but Python is. Okay, just for the understanding. Okay.
Okay, so it means that when I'm using any data manipulation queries, if the table is created in uppercase, I can use lowercase at the time of manipulation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even in the same syntax, suppose I can write like this as well. So select a star from, let's suppose you create the table trans table. So I can like this tr uppercase and small case ans.
Okay.
So even similarly I can play the manipulation over here as well. So select el and then small case, because it's
Okay.
at the end of the day it's case sensitive, so it will treat you as like you write as
Sure.
uppercase, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
Next is create a table. So you can see over here, so create table I have syntax. Now you have the employee ID, first name and all. Okay. So number is nothing but integer. Okay, not null. If you want to give, it's fine, otherwise we generally don't give it. So the common that you need to remember, just this one, basics one. Okay, there are other constraint that I have already added. So if you see the column constraint, so constraint you don't understand right now, so you just forget it, what is not null. Okay, so just understand we have to give only the column name and their varchar, or which means the data type, because constraint we generally don't give on a day-to-day basis. Okay, it's good to add, but it's not mandatory as well in the realistic world. Okay.
I need to ask one question. How many data type do we have, like varchar, date, number, numeric?
5, 6, I guess, right? So you can count, right? Numeric number, numeric. So for numbers you have 2, integer and float. Integer, which is the round, which cannot be like 2, 3, 4, 5. Float, which is into decimal, 2.5, 3.5.
Okay.
Then you have varchar, which is nothing but textual data. Fourth you have date, and fifth you can say the boolean data.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So if sometimes the customer ID can be like RB1234, a mixture of both
Sorry.
number and alphabet. So that time we have to give it as varchar, the data type.
No. So customer ID can be 1, 2, 3, and then
Numeric and alphabetical. For example, AB1234.
no. So see, actually, to be frank, that does not happen. If you are enrolling a customer ID, so it has to be a certain format. Okay.
Okay.
Either it will be a data anomaly. I'm not saying it cannot be. That's what I'm saying, because sometimes what happen when you are dealing with the data, so it's sometimes data feeding, data entry. So realistic world data, it can be of type, but for to define that, it will be only a defined format, because otherwise it will get very confusing. For example, you do the bank transaction, right? So you have the customer ID, which is always a numeric number. For example, you have the bank account detail for ICICI, so it will be alphanumeric number, right? So we cannot say,
Yes.
okay, it has to be numeric or the alpha, but it has to be a certain format it has to follow. Okay, and other than
So-
that format, it is the anomaly.
So there cannot be a mixture of alphabet and number.
Yeah, it can be. See again,
Can be.
format, the pattern that you're giving to a column, it can be numeric number, it can be only string, it can be alphanumeric, it can be alphanumeric date, whatever you want to choose. But
So in that case,
Mhm.
we pass the data type as varchar, like
Yeah,
take
varchar,
complete.
exactly. Yeah, because it will be a varchar value there. Alphanumeric, it will be varchar. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Now, so talking about the data type, so you see these type of data set that exist. So integer, small integer, again main, I think I would suggest only this one. Yeah, because integer, small integer is same thing. Okay, numeric number is same thing. Varchar is same thing, nothing but text. Okay. Then again float that I explained you. Okay. Again real number is same thing. So if I can like this, I can overestimate like date. I can write maybe something boolean, right? So this type of data set exists only 4 5. Okay, so that's what it's saying. Each value as a data type defines the domain of a value that each column can contain. When you create a table, you must specify a data type for each column. ANSI defines a common set. Oracle has built. So again, each system has their own built-in data types. Okay, for example, the way it's showing x number of data types, it was with respect to the Oracle, because each I would say there's not very major change. Fundamentally, if you check, it will be integer, float, date, boolean, etc. because the integer, small integer, is more like how you are storing the data, how much x number of space you are allocating the data and you can store. So that depends system to system, what is the capacity of it. Okay, but the fundamentally we should be knowing, just in terms of maths, it's a numeric number, it can be integer or float. In terms of string, it will be a varchar or char, date, and the boolean data. Okay, now next is select statement, right? So anything you write after, so select, I explain you, it's all about the data retrieval. Okay, so suppose I can write over here simply select 3. Okay, so what it will do, it will just result print 3, result print equal to 3. Okay, this will be the result. Okay, so the select statement is used to retrieve the information from a certain table. If not, table does not exist, then you are just printing whatever it is. Okay, so that's how we leverage select. So for example, in this statement I have the transaction table. If I have to retrieve all the information, I will simply write select star from employee, trans table. That is called select. Then again, there are like lots of things, manipulation, in terms of manipulation, how I can filter the data, how can I aggregate data, that is a different story. But at least if I have to retrieve the information, the first condition that I have to put in any SQL syntax, and always SQL syntax that will start will be, it will always start from the select. If you are retrieving information, okay, I'm not talking about the creating the data, I'm not talking about the deleting the data, etc. But if you are retrieving the information, 98% or 95% of the use case, you will be mostly working with only the select statement, which is nothing but select and the manipulation of the data. Okay, so select start from transaction. Okay, so this is what about select start from transaction table. Okay, so select, which means you are retrieving the information. Now there are other conditions as well, so I'll explain you one by one. So now we have select where group by having an order. Okay, so this is the execution order, and the execution order you should write, you remember WHO, just remember WGHO, just add G after W. So this is the execution order. What it does, what it doesn't, I'll explain you further. But for any syntax, the SQL syntax, that how it's going to look like, the end-to-end structure of any particular query, it should start like this: start select from where group by having order. Okay, this is the select coding, SQL coding order. Okay, and when I say coding order, because when you write select first, it does not mean the select will execute first as well. Okay, so I'll explain you further when I might be solving questions and all, then I explain you what is the execution order, which things run first. But at least since I'm explaining, okay, create table and all, and the SQL basic syntax and all, so that's why I'm telling you this is how the coding order it should look like. So you start right with select from where group having order. Also, another point to remember, it might not be the case that you have, like for example, you have 6 statements. It doesn't mean that each query, in each SQL query, you have to write all 6. So these two are very mandatory one. You have to write in any way. Okay, so these are the mandatory in any SQL language. If you're writing any SQL syntax code, by default you have to add it. But again, these are not non-mandatory. These are depends on the condition, whether you have to add or whether you don't have to add. So these depends on the condition. And why it depends on the condition? Suppose I'll explain you for one example and you will understand what I'm trying to say. So where does nothing, it just filter the data. So obviously for each use case, I don't have to filter the data, correct? So that's why I say where group having order, it depends on the condition. But let's suppose in one question I have to write where as well and the group as well. But over there you should be understanding, okay, whether where will come into the picture or group will come into the picture. So that's why I'm explaining you. Okay. And also this is the very common job interview question. Explain the execution coding order of where having group and order. So over there you simply have to remember WGHO. Okay. Make sense?
From would not be accounted over here. From where having select.
So select from, these are all mandatory, right?
Yeah,
But they don't depend on the execution of order. Select will come first, then from. But where group having order, you have to write, because group, it has to follow a structure, right?
Yeah, understood.
So that's why they are like some service-based company, or maybe some theoretical question that when you start the interview, it's a very common question. Okay, explain me the execution order. Because if you can't explain this, then definitely I can explain you. I can't expect you, okay, you will solve the high-end questions as well. Okay. So when we start the interview to the interviewee, we start from the very basic theoretical question. If he or she can answer the question, because if he she cannot answer these basics one, then definitely he or she cannot solve the tough questions as well. Okay.
Yeah, understood.
So this is more around the SQL syntax. Just remember, for now, don't need to understand this coding and all, the table and all. So I'll explain you further. But just understand what is the syntax is all about, what is the coding and all, etc. Okay. Third, we have the Third, we have the insert data, update data, and delete data. So insert, again I explain you what it does. It just insert the data into your table. Okay. So the syntax that we write, it's simply like this: insert into this table. That's it. It's very basic one, nothing rocket science. Just write this: insert into table 1. Okay. Insert. So it will be insert into table 1. So whatever the data you have given, it will insert into table 1. Now you have to obviously define the condition, what you have to write and all. That is another story, but the syntax will remain same. This is insert table. Again, for commit, for update, you have to write the syntax: update table 1 set column is equal to 1. I'll explain. And delete is this. Delete from table. Okay. So see, 3 syntax I have explained over here. First is insert, which means inserting the data into your table. Okay. That is very easy one. Second is the update, but if you remember, we hardly use over here. Okay. But I'll explain you what it is doing. Suppose you have the update table. This is the common syntax. And for example, suppose you have the transaction table. Okay.
Kaushik, please mute your mic.
Suppose I have the transaction table. And I want this column name wherever is equal to, let's suppose, new column, let's suppose I have added something flag, and I want to give assign something value 1. So you simply write this one. So you are updating the value of the flag column is equal to 1. Okay. So this is the update syntax, what it does. Now the third is delete the table. So delete is nothing but it delete table or delete certain row from the table. That is the delete statement. Okay. So it can be like something delete where I can write, say, okay, debit credit flag is equal to debit. Okay. So it will delete all the records, or maybe customer ID is equal to 1, let's suppose. So delete statement is nothing. It deleting all the records where the transaction ID is 1, which means it is deleting the customer ID 1 transaction. Correct? Is it clear, guys?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. So the basics ones. Okay. So you should be just understanding this is the action item that we have to do, nothing else. Okay, because these syntax you will start actually when you are actually solving the course, because SQL is all about the practice. Theory is one thing. Theory you should be knowing only what logic I have to put there. Like for example, if I'm asking to do this, then by default you should be knowing, okay, in this question I have to implement this. Over there you should not be confused, okay, if I have to use insert, update and all. So from theory, what I'm expecting, at least you should be cover, okay, what does it do? What if let's suppose if I ask you insert the data, then you should be knowing, okay, over there I have to use the insert statement instead of update. I don't have to use update and delete. I have to use the insert statement, because syntax you can see at any point of time, but just watching the Google as well. Okay, but what to Google, that is the question, main thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is more around DDL. Insert, update, delete. Now the next thing is DDL. So again, delete, like I said you, alteration of table. So alteration, it can be renaming of a column, it can be renaming of a table name, dropping the column name, it can be anything. Okay, so if you have to modify the table name, so it will be renaming to the employee names. For example, this table I have to write this syntax alter table. Okay, now this was the employees table name, and now I'm renaming it to new employees. So I want the table name to rename from employees to new employees. So this is the syntax exactly what we write. Now in the existing table, at the column level, if I have to add the column name, then I simply write alter table employees, add this column name. Similarly, if I have to change the column name, so again same thing, alter table employees, rename column ID to employee ID. Okay, so over there we just change to the table name. Now we are changing from column of a table to a new name. Similarly, if you have to drop this some column name, some column, then you simply can write alter table, table name, alter table, table name, and what is the column that we have to drop. Okay, so this is how things gonna look like. But again, we don't use very much in a DNBA. I never use this alter table in my life. But fundamentally, you should be understanding it if you are preparing for the job interviews, because over there they will be asking, okay, what is the alter table syntax, how you can change the table name, how you can add column name, etc. So over there your syntax is necessary, but on a day-to-day job you don't remember this. So that's why two things: first, remember what alter table is all about. Number two things, what the syntax is going to look like. That's it. Okay, there are other constraints that you can also as well add, drop, constraint and all. So constraint you don't know, I'll explain you further. Okay, but at least
alter changes the structure of the table.
Sorry,
Alter changes the structure of the table.
yeah, not structure. Yeah, structure you can say. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Is it related only to table, na?
Yeah, it's only to table. Okay.
Okay.
So whatever we are doing, we are doing only in a data table, which will be under the any RDBMS. Okay. Talking about the, I have explained only what is the difference between DBMS and RDBMS. After which everything I'm discussing, it's all about the data table that exists into any RDBMS. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Mazher, I have a doubt. So alter, does it just delete only the columns part, or will it deal with the rows part as well?
No, it will not delete the row. No, it will not delete the row. If you have to delete the row, you have to use the delete function. So that is the thing you need to remember. So in the table, let's suppose you have a matrix. Okay. For example, this table if I see like this. So if I explain you, so these are the column. If I go down vertically, so these are the column names. But if I check at the horizontally, these are the rows. Okay. This is the rows and this is the column. So alter table. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let me admit someone. Yeah. So alter table, what it does do, it does the alteration at the column level. It can be drop, it can be rename, it can be anything. But let's suppose you have to delete the row or play with the rows. Let's suppose delete X number of rows. So that is going to do from the delete syntax. So for example, it says, right, deleting rows from last 7 days, or even I have mentioned over here, delete from transaction where customer ID is equal to 1. So delete rows. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah, I get it. And then what's the role of update then? Like update changes the column and rows, both of them, or only rows?
No, update, it can change the column. Obviously, it will work at the column level, but the change, it can happen for row level. When I say the row level, not all the rows. For example, when I'm putting this statement, update transaction set flag is equal to 1. So what it will do, update means update this table. This is simply saying this. Then it says set flag is equal to 1. Flag means the column name. Okay. And then it says, okay, put this condition is equal to 1. So wherever the flag there, so it will assign number 1 to each row. Okay. But let's suppose if I add the condition where customer ID is equal to 1, right? Then it will be assigned flag only to those where the customer ID is 1. So it will not update all the values, instead only limited rows where the customer ID is equal to 1. Okay. So obviously the transformation is happening at the row level, but the assignment, it will be done at the column level. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, get it.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you.
again, the changes will not be applicable across all the row. It depends on the use case. Okay. So this is
Yes,
all about.
thanks.
So this is all about the alter table.
And Mazher, what is the function of drop? Does it delete the column?
Drop. Okay, so let me
Yeah.
tell you what is the difference between delete and drop and truncate. Okay. So I thought to cover it later on session, but let me explain you.
Okay. So if it's in the upcoming sessions, that's fine.
But I think this is the important one you can understand. Okay. So I have explained over earlier as well what is the truncate, what is the delete syntax. You already knowing what is delete and all, and also using the drop function as well. Okay. Again, this is a very common interview question you will be asked in the interview directly. Explain me the difference between delete, drop, and truncate. Okay. Suppose I have this table. So first thing is delete. Suppose where delete. So this is the delete statement, and this is the table. So what it will does. Suppose this is the input table. So what delete does, and suppose you have two rows, 2 and 2. This is the input table. So what delete will do, it will delete only customer ID 1 record. Okay. So it means only 2 record, customer ID 2 record will be remain there. So this will be deleted. Okay. So what delete does, it just delete all the rows from which you can put the condition. This is what delete does, not what a drop and truncate does.
Whatever we select in delete, deletes.
Yeah, wherever you put the condition, delete this, delete that. It will delete the row from that table. Simple.
It would be either one row or a second row.
Hold on, just a minute. Sorry, what?
It would be either one row or another row. Some like we have selected third row,
Yes,
fourth row.
yes.
It's depend on the condition.
Yeah, it depends on the condition and also the type of data. Let's suppose I have 10 rows of customer ID 1, then it will delete all the 10 rows.
Okay.
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 Whereas what drop does nothing but actually it will delete everything. So for a table to exist, there are two things. First is the structure, which is, let's suppose the customer ID in the transaction date, it is the structure. Second is the actual data that is present. Okay. What drop it will do, it will drop everything. So if you search for the result, so drop, it will delete everything. That means data and structure both.
Even the table also, na?
Even the table as well. So that is the table, which means structure means table.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas
It means it erases the complete table.
yeah, it
Okay.
erases the complete table and permanently.
So when we use delete from table 1, so it will just delete the data and the structure will be left over there, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
But drop means it completely drop. Whereas truncate will do nothing, but what it will do, it will delete the data, but it will not delete the structure. It will delete data but not structure. Which means I can see these two columns in the data, but I don't want to see the data over here. Okay.
But you can achieve that with delete as well, right?
No, but in the delete table, even these two columns will not be there. So for example, if I round after drop, let's suppose I drop this, let's table drop x.
No, not drop. I'm saying delete. Delete also performs the same operation, right? It is also deleting the records, but
No.
keeping the structure intact.
But truncate is deleting all the records.
I think
all
we
the
don't
records
need
at once.
I
condition.
think delete also deletes the starting records, customer ID, transition date, the column.
I think in truncate,
No, so
we
what
don't
will
give
happen?
condition.
Delete.
Yeah.
will
Truncate
delete-
is to erase all the records at
yeah,
once.
exactly.
But in delete we have right to put condition.
Yeah, exactly. And drop, it will means everything, data structure, everything. Okay.
Okay.
It delete all the data. Okay.
Okay. And is there a function to just delete a column?
Yeah, you can do that. Right? Drop. Right. Alter table
Okay.
drop is in the last this one.
Alter
Right?
table name drop.
But again, as a D and BA, you don't do such things like dropping a column name, deleting a column name. You don't do that. Okay. Because at the end of the day, requirement is that you don't delete any kind of data because it's important somewhere. Okay. At the end of the day, you just do the manipulation. And you should be at least what I expected, at least you should remember these two questions. The execution order, number one thing. Number two thing is about the input and output table. What is the difference between delete and drop and truncate? Okay. These two questions
So-
you were,
Yeah, so as a DA and a BA,
Mhm.
we need to be more familiar with the DML than
DML.
DDL,
Yeah.
right?
yeah. Okay. So definitely you should be knowing the syntax, but 90% of the use case you will be doing the manipulation only. And when I say manipulation, there's a lots of things, join, cities and all, but that's what I'm telling you. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So and also who is preparing for at least getting a job and all. So guys, you should at least remember these two questions: execution order and what is the difference between delete, drop, and truncate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So third is constraint. So constraint is nothing but SQL constraints are used to specify rules for a data in a table. So constraint means again you have to, like for example, I have given this table name and where last name it cannot be null, right? So you are just putting a constraint. Okay, this cannot be null and salary should be greater than 100, right? Similarly for it can be not null condition. So rule it can be of anything. It can be not null. It should be primary key. It can be showed of foreign key. Okay, so I'll explain you what is the primary key and foreign key. Just understand what is the constraint. Constraint is nothing but that you are assigning certain condition, certain rule for any column in a data. Okay, you don't have to remember this constraint error and all. Okay, just remember these things. Okay, when I say primary key, foreign key, we will cover what different type of a key exists in the table. For primary key, foreign key, composite key. But just understand these are the set of conditions that we have to give. But even if you don't give, it's not very primary one. It's not very the critical one. Okay. Next is null value. This is important. What is null? Null means nothing means that it's zero or blank space. It simply means the data is missing. You don't know the data. It is unavailable. It's unassigned. It's unknown. It's inapplicable. Which means in very layman language, the data is null, which means the data is missing. For example, null values yeah, playing with null value. Suppose I have this table. Okay, so suppose over here I don't see any data. So this is null because I don't know whether the data will be 0, data will be something else. I don't know. So that's why we call it as null. Okay. So this you will have the important, and accordingly, like I told you, it's not any kind of data type. It's a numeric, it's not a numeric, it's not a string. It can be at any column level. For example, this was the, suppose A. So over here I can say is a null. Over here I can also as a null. So null it can represent at any level, okay, of any column name. So because null does not represent any data type, it simply represents the data does not exist in very simple language. Okay, and how you are going to play with the null, that's how the condition is also different from time to time. For example, if you see, so select star from table, it will give you only where the id equal to 0. But if I have to filter out those records where the data is null, so you have to put this condition, is null, is null, is not null.
Yeah, understood.
Okay, because is null is not 0, is not blank space, that's why. Okay, now
So does null mean that the value is empty, or will it contain null as a value in the table?
it will be empty.
Empty. Okay.
In a simple language, it will be a empty.
Yeah, so you don't know what is there, it's just missing. Okay, now the same thing which I explained you, delete, truncate, etc. Okay, so this is from the delete rows, truncate, and also explaining the drop table as well. Okay, yeah, so join we can cover in the next session, but at least from this session you should be understanding what are the type of syntax you do, what are the databases you do, what are the different type of statement you do, what are things at the do at the broader level. So let me summarize again. So we started with the database, we covered with the RDBMS, what are the different table that exist, what are the structure look like, and then we jump what are the different type of statement that we have.
Yeah, basically I want to ask that delete from, whenever you use delete from table name, so I think it must be give some warning, I think. Otherwise it will delete the whole table.
No,
Must be
it will
given-
not run. It will not run.
It will not run.
No. Without condition, it will not run because it will not understand what to delete.
Yeah, understood.
Okay, and then we come up with the scenario. Okay, what things we use and the SQL as a query language. So we covered creation of table, important ones like insert data, retrieval of data, update, delete data, right? And the create data, I explain you what are the column name, what the things you have to write, select statement, I explain you what the coding order, execution order, some common geometry question, insert, update, delete. Okay, similarly I explain you the in the very broader way how things gonna look like, delete and truncate. Okay, and also I explain you through one data why we have delete the data like from last 7 days or maybe 14 days. It depends on the use case. Okay, any questions, doubt over here?
Actually, I joined late, so we were talking about Oracle or basically general SQL.
So again, it can be Oracle, it can be MySQL because things will remain same. Fundamentally, there will be a small change in syntax, but the logic wise things will remain same, right? Because fundamentally will you be doing the same thing. So if you have to solve any question, right, there are three things: question understanding, second is the logic building, and the third is the actually writing the query. So the SQL syntax comes at the very latest stage. Okay. Before that, you have to understand what is the objective you are trying to solve. Right. Second is the how I'm gonna do about it. If I have to delete thing, if I have to drop thing, if I have to add a column, if I have to do some aggregation, what is it? That is your logical understanding. Then third thing comes, which is the SQL syntax. Across the databases, which is a MySQL, Postgre, Oracle, maybe some syntax, little bit syntax, not very much. Like for example, date function, what you are using in Oracle, it might be different in MySQL. But fundamental query will not, it will not be like that. Okay, I'm writing over here, select star from, then where group having order, the execution order or the coding order will change in Oracle. It will not work like that. Only the function named will change little bit. Rest everything will remain same across all the database. Okay.
If we share these links, as I have joined late.
Yeah. I'll share this all this PPT, and also I'll share this Excel link with all you over email.
Yeah, thanks.
And Mazher, where will the session recording be? So just to go through it again.
Yeah. So I'll just share the link over here.
Okay.
Maybe over here, recording link. Day wise I'll share you. Okay. Okay, but at least fundamentally level, you should be at least whatever I told you. I guess you got the point, right? What I'm trying to at least give you the broader perspective. Okay.
Yeah, but you were saying something about the last 7 days data delete. Oh, that is depend on the condition, na? Okay, that we need.
See, if you are not able to get it, Mahi, that's fine. Because see, this is all theory. Once I
Okay.
let you, or once I start showing you, okay, this is the question, this is how the practical thing, then you will get more clarity.
You were just giving an example about
Yes,
that, na?
yes.
Okay.
Because see, at the end of the day, my goal is to cover theory as soon as possible. Okay, but for
Okay.
that, it should not be the case I'm rushing things, because fundamentally it should be very clear what to use. I'm teaching only theory for the purpose, for the sake of the purpose. You should know this is the problem, what thing I have to use only for this purpose.
Okay.
Because because at the end of the day, SQL is all about solving questions. Okay,
Yeah,
regardless
yeah.
of how much I teach you SQL theory, if you are not able to solve question, it's useless. In plain English,
Okay.
it's useless, right?
Okay.
So, but again, for solving questions, you should be very clear. Okay, what syntax to write as well,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Okay.
right. So it's a two-step process. Okay, so that's why at least cover the theory first, 3 sessions at least. You will have the understanding how things fundamentally work, right? So even there, if you have to like explain the questions, okay, I'm doing the joining, I'm using the city, I have to create the table. So over there you don't get confused. Okay. So at least because the syntax at the end of the day, you can Google it at any point of time, and also the actual syntax you will memorize by, it depends amount of practice you are doing it. Okay. No one will expect, okay, from one session, okay, you are writing end-to-end SQL code and all. No one will expect, no one will have that expectation. But what expectation I'll be having from all of you guys, at least if I ask you, I'm explaining this, you should be understanding, okay, this statement I have to leverage over it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that level expertise, okay, start actually writing the syntax, that will come with practice and with time. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, we are taking into consideration from and where in the order of execution. So please confirm that it's the right order I'm selecting. From, where,
Yeah.
select, group by, having order.
Yes,
Is this
yes.
right?
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
From where, group by, yeah, WGHO. Just remember WGHO.
Yeah. So,
Okay. And second question was delete, drop, truncate.
yeah.
Okay. And also there are some. Go.
I'm still doubtful about the null value thing. Like it's a empty space. So in the table, it will just be blank, and nothing written as null.
Yeah.
Or will it be written as null and
It will be missing. It will not remain. I showed you in terms of like, so you are able to explain better. But in actual data, it will be blank. It will, nothing will be there. But blank means
So-
it doesn't mean it's blank. Okay, it's just missing.
Okay, so if we want to search missing values or count those numbers, then that is the one we are looking for.
Sorry, can you come up again?
If we are searching for missing values, then that is the one thing we are looking for, right?
But we don't. Why
Those
we look
missing
for
spaces.
No, but why we look for missing values?
For example, in a Excel sheet, if there are some missing cells, like nothing's written in those cells, then if you're looking for that, then we are looking where nothing is written. That is the missing value.
Yeah. So you can simply apply.
null.
Yeah, something column name is equal to null.
And in your PPT, it was written something as empty space.
So empty space. So think from this perspective. Let me rephrase again, Snehal. Null means you don't know what is there. Simply. When I say you don't know, means you don't know it's a numeric number. You don't know it's a character. You don't know. It just data does not exist there.
Okay.
Okay. It can be what it can be there. You don't know. Okay. So that's why even the calculation will not work there. Okay.
I think in the PPT it was written not equivalent to 0 or empty space.
Yeah.
If I'm not correct.
So let me show you. Yeah. So not equal to 0 in blank space, because again,
Yeah,
0
yeah.
is another thing. Blank space is another thing. Like this one. Okay. So it just simply says the data is unavailable, unassigned, unknown, and inapplicable. I don't know. Okay. In very layman language, I don't know. In case of null, what exists, I don't know. Simply, it does not mean it's 0, because 0 again is some information is there. Blank
Yes.
space is again some information is there. Okay. Null represent no information is there. What information can be there? That I don't know.
Okay, got it.
Okay. How you're gonna play around is like I'll be discussing. Okay, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, for example, we have a record of usernames, record of peoples, those who have their date of birth and date of that decided over there. So if you want to confirm that those people who are not dead, so we'll write that that date is not null. right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I meant. The query will be where that date is not null. So here it will be
Yeah,
completely
is
coming
null
handy.
is not null. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, playing with if you have to null. So see,
Okay.
you have will be checking null only in the where condition.
Yeah.
Okay, where you have
Because
to filter the record is whether it's null or not null. Simple.
those who are alive, so that date would not be present over there.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's why
yes.
that date is not null.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Thanks.
yeah, and also depends on the application as well. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Pratik, Kaushik, do you have any question?
No, Mazher.
Yeah, no, Mazhar, no, nothing. Nothing
Okay.
as of now.
Satya, Suraj.
All good.
No, Mazhar, I'm clear of all the doubt.
Cool then. So we will connect next week. I think same time. I'll share the invite again for the next Sunday. Okay, and I'll also sharing this Excel as well over your email, and also I've created a WhatsApp group as well with you guys. So if you have any question, then you can post it there as well. Okay. Cool.
The recording also will be sharing over the email, right?
Yeah, I'll share it over there. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. And if you have any feedback, constructive, positive, negative, whatever it is, you can DM me on WhatsApp as well. Okay, I should have done this way and that way, whatever it is. Okay. So any kind of feedback is appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay. ठीक है चलो. Then see you on next Sunday. Okay. Bye bye.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for
Thanks.
the.
Bye.